Story 1. A lot of guys hate their bodies. Just trawl through the threads around here and look at all the ones convinced their life is a mess because they are short, bald, ugly, cannot grow a beard, cannot get a six-pack or whatever. Plenty just want to be skinny like so many women. I'm not sure what, if anything, there is to be done about it, but it is definitely there. Story 2. Body dysmorphia is definitely a thing for guys with real consequences, especially during the teenage years. Boys and girls both start noticing their bodies changing around the teenage years and begin comparing themselves to the hot kids at their school. I have a 17-year-old brother who has been a serious athlete since he was little. He measures his food by the gram at every meal and is obsessed with nutrition and performance. We're talking about a sub-5-minute mile and 20-something miles endurance runs every day. The little guy has abs for days but is never satisfied. All he would talk about is how the top kid on his cross-country team looks like this and runs this fast, etc. He's going to the Olympics. None of that bothers me as much as when he skips meals as a punishment for going out to dinner for our dad's birthday or refusing to eat even his normal low-calorie stuff as a punishment to make up for something. It's like he didn't even think he was skinny at 119 pounds and 5 feet 8 inches. I was frustrated with him, but I could tell something was off. He didn't realize how he looked and was chasing an impossible goal. He finally broke down one day and admitted his hunger and pain from overworking his body. It was the worst feeling I've had talking with him about it, but I'm glad he opened up. He's doing much better and even gained some weight after deciding to personalize his fitness goals and is even running a little faster now while maintaining his weight. He's a talented kid, and I love him very much and will always be proud of him. I think it's a mistake to compare the experiences of body dysmorphia between the sexes while trying to figure out if one is worse than the other. It's probably mostly similar for everyone. It's good to have fitness goals and work hard for them, but not at the cost of your physical health and sanity. I don't think you have to treat people specially because they're experiencing these issues, but it's a good idea to be supportive of recovery if you can. I personally couldn't care less about my body, to be honest. Story 3. I think it's definitely the reason why I got into working out and eating healthy. It's never enough for me. I hit my ideal weight before the COVID-19 pandemic, but I wasn't as lean as I wanted to be at that weight. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I ate less due to not working out as hard as I was and ended up dropping 20 pounds down to my undergraduate weight. I'm now having trouble eating enough because I don't want to look skinny and untoned again. It's a psychological struggle and can ruin my days. Story 4. Feels like the question was made for me, honestly. The biggest issue I see is social media making impressive physiques more visible. People who do copious amounts of steroids exist, but before, you only really saw them if you were into bodybuilding. Nowadays, there are plenty of guys in their late teens and early 20s who are also on gear and have physiques that look attainable to a novice lifter because their dosages are low, and they're not consuming over 5,000 calories per day to even come close to the size of some of the monsters in men's open bodybuilding. Steroid use has been a problem for decades now, but social media has exacerbated things by making it much easier to broadcast your physique and make money doing it. I don't think it would be as big of a deal if there was at least transparency with drug use, but that's not always realistic given the possibility of brands pulling sponsorships over admissions to steroid use to keep the brand image clean. Another issue is the legality. Steroid possession is so heavily prosecuted in places like South Korea that many professional bodybuilders from there will firmly deny steroid use to avoid legal consequences. The reason this particular question resonates strongly with me is that I was in a similar situation. I fluctuated between the high end of overweight and the low end of obese throughout high school and was routinely bullied for both my weight and my height. Eventually, I got into bodybuilding after having already done strength training for 2 years during the football off-season. You start looking up to all these guys you see online and wonder why your progress isn't matching theirs. And eventually, you find yourself in the world of dozens of different performance-enhancing drugs that are widely available if you know where to look. I started using steroids when I was 20. By that point, I was interested in trying my hand at an amateur show and wanted to get a few cycles in before I aged out of juniors. At that time, I wasn't interested in looking like a fitness model and was deeply into bodybuilding as a competition instead. There's still a wide degree of body dysmorphia that results from it, but that's just what happens when you partake in a sport where the only thing that matters is how you look. Even some of the greats like Arnold Schwarzenegger would cry after having just won a show because they didn't think their physique was good enough. As unfortunate as it is to say, steroids are just part of the course in certain instances. Natural bodybuilding shows are a joke, and the top guys are all just running stuff with a short half-life to avoid testing positive. Any competitive sport where money is involved is also rife with drug use. College athletes looking to get drafted or professionals are all using. Even female athletes take steroids. Steroid use is an inevitable consequence of trying to compete at the top level. Do I think your average person who doesn't know much about steroids should be using them to solve their body image issues? No. Do I wish the Food and Drug Administration would hurry up and give selective androgen receptor modulators the same drug classification as anabolic steroids so that they weren't so accessible to young teenagers? Of course. But I also don't think that steroid use with the express purpose of competing in some sport is necessarily a bad thing. It's just that a lot of people who start using are woefully uninformed and do so in an attempt to look better because they're under the impression that certain drugs will magically melt stomach fat and give them 20-inch arms. Story 5. It's hard because I'm a skinny dude everywhere but the belly. I've been working out pretty consistently for the past 2 years, and the results are hard to see. I don't know what original poster meant by steroid epidemic, but people don't usually say if they're taking steroids or not. I see all these jacked people in the gym I go to, and their progress seems to take a fraction of the time it's taking me. My partner and friends are very supportive of my working out, but I just never feel big enough. Small legs and arms and no six-pack really get to me, even though I know I look healthy. Social media is probably the biggest contributing factor to body dysmorphia, at least for me. Story 6. I couldn't agree more with this post. I struggled with body dysmorphia for years and still do to this day. I spent years at gyms trying to achieve something that was realistically unachievable in the way I was approaching it. But yes, I feel that body dysmorphia in men is almost a neglected topic. Story 7. Companies like Dove are all about using plus-sized female models to encourage women to feel good about themselves, which I completely support. But when was the last time you saw an underwear ad for men with a male model that wasn't muscular with chiseled abs? It's completely hypocritical. Story 8. I think a lot of men's softer and insecure sides are ignored or hushed down despite the evidence telling us it should not be. Mostly by men themselves and society follows, or is it the other way around? I think it's hard to tell with these things. What came first, the stigma or the behavior? Honestly, I think we're in a phase now where we are starting to redefine what it is to be a man, where we allow people to actually ask these questions about men and let other men answer them without guilt or stigma. Kind of similar to what women have been doing for the last 100 to 150 years. Just in the last quarter of a century, we have seen a lot of development with regards to men in the Western Hemisphere. I think the next 50 to 100 years are going to be interesting with regards to men's mental well-being. Story 9. I think all three are really serious issues that men face in today's world. As much as women talk about unrealistic beauty standards, men face similar pressures too. It's really important to remember that the people you see on underwear packages have top-tier workout and nutrition advice, and they only look that way for a shoot. They still get their photos edited to be perfect. It's unfortunate to see men and women base their self-worth on what their body looks like. It's important to eat healthy and work out, sure, but it shouldn't define you as a person. If you're struggling with any of these issues, then I would highly recommend talking to a professional therapist or psychiatrist. Story 10. I think a lot of it has to do with how little the general public knows about steroid use. I have known many people that have slightly above average natural physiques that maintain low-dose testosterone. While their physiques were absolutely obtainable naturally, they were not obtainable with their lifestyles. The average person sees their physiques and assumes that with enough work they can eat whatever they want and drink 3 days a week and look like them. I do not think people realize how many people are on steroids because they associate it with huge bodybuilders. There is also the fact that because people's favorite actor or strength athlete does not admit to steroid use, they assume their physique is hard work and dedication. There are literally people on Eddie Hall's YouTube comments claiming that he is natural. I do not think male body dysmorphia is taken seriously because there is a large percentage of the population that just is not aware of it. Story 11. A female friend of mine strongly believes that body dysmorphia and insecurities are solely a misogynistic and patriarchal issue that only affects women. Man, it's so frustrating to talk to her about that. As a guy who has had severe body dysmorphia since before high school, I try to tell her that it affects men equally as well. But she still believes that society's ideals for a perfect body are unfairly imposed on females only and that males don't have to deal with such insecurities and expectations. Story 12. I was born with a lazy eye and droopy eyelids. I had surgery on the eye when I was little. I have always wanted to get rid of my droopy eyelids. I'm 32 now. I always look tired, and it weighs me down mentally. Male body dysmorphia is real. Story 13. This is so true. As a younger person, I went to the gym 6 days a week, lifted literal tons of weight, ran endless miles, ate a perfect diet, took all my supplements, and I was in great shape. However, I did not look like Captain America when he first steps out of the pod, so I felt like a soft, fat person. I never attained the unattainable physique for me, and so I felt ugly and weak when I could literally do 200 push-ups without breathing hard and run 5 kilometers in 22 minutes. Body dysmorphia in men is real and a real problem. Story 14. I find that just like women, we hold ourselves to higher standards than those around us. We think we look like a version of ourselves that could be better, while others see us just as we are. Not fat, skinny, or in shape. It's just, oh, that's a name. We're all built differently. I've seen happy people in all different forms of themselves. If you don't love yourself, you have to put in some work and learn to love yourself. Hopefully, you'll want to see yourself be the healthiest you can be. Story 15. My whole family sat me down when I was 12 to tell me that I was getting fat. This was months after I told them that I was being bullied and did not know how to handle it. My dad is also a doctor of psychology. Story 16. Mental health issues for men are simply not taken seriously by anyone, hardly ever. Sometimes the media does not take it seriously, but there is awareness when you talk to people about certain topics, though not about men's mental health. It is seen as a sign of weakness and is rarely met with understanding. I agree that steroid abuse and these extreme bodybuilders who need sleep apnea machines because they cannot breathe properly after gaining all this weight have severe issues with how they look. Story 17. If you have any real experience with working out, you realize that 99% of the great physiques you see are both genetically gifted and enhanced with drugs. That isn't to say they didn't work hard for it, and it should not deter you from trying to pursue a healthy lifestyle. Story 18. Most of the reason I work out is because I feel like I don't look good enough. I've struggled with it throughout my teens, but I don't let it become a physical thing. It just stays in my head. Story 19. I don't take mine seriously anymore. I opted to disappear from social settings until I'm content with how my person looks. Still working at it, one day further, one day stronger. As I have stumbled through my 20s trying to feel comfortable in my own skin, clothes are an odd sort of torture for me at this point. I truly feel remorse for my fellow man who takes steroids, but I cannot fault their decision. That would imply that I know better. I don't. The quick fix has been around for some time. I'm talking miracle tonics of the late 19th century, though it goes well beyond that. Steroids are another iteration of its insistent promises. Edit. Sorry, I've edited this 7 times now. I'll stop. Story 20. It's funny because everybody I speak to daily in the gym who is not chiseled says they just want to be a little fitter. And then here I am not satisfied with shoulders the size of my head. Story 21. I hate not having any actual male diet plans that just let you lose weight. They're all build 500 pounds of muscle in 2 years if you call right now. And not to mention the look medical professionals give me when I tell them I just want to fit into a medium shirt. Like it just makes me want to put my head through a wall. Story 22. The people who do not care have no obligation to care. Family should, but I know far too many cases where they just do not, and the kids end up with messed up things in their heads. I think that if we do not care, nobody else will. Story 23. I don't know, to be honest. I think women care more about women's issues, and men care more about men's issues in general. At least they understand their own issues better than the others. I believe men's issues are taken seriously, but those who take them seriously aren't loud about it on social media, so we don't hear as much about it. Talking about women's issues as a politician, depending on the country, gives a lot of bonus points, so of course they take advantage of that. But talking about men's issues can sometimes be met with, but women have it worse. Surely we can't consider both sides. So the politicians skip that topic. Maybe that's also why men's issues aren't taken as seriously by as many, because we don't talk as much about it as women talk about their problems.